Hello everyone, I'm Baruffy1322 and this video serves as an update to my fastest fully upgraded cars series where I take all vehicles in GTA 5 around a circuit to find the best to use for racing. If you want to know how all vehicles perform in a variety of different classes and formats, check the annotation on the screen or the link in the description for the full playlist of videos, and of course feel free to subscribe for future updates. But otherwise, let's get straight into seeing how the vehicles from the Executives and Other Criminals update compare to their counterparts. And first up we have the armoured version of the Cognoscenti, 15th place overall. There are 15 brand new cars in this video from this DLC, and it gets a lap time of 1 minute 16.9. For the sedans class, that only puts it in 22nd place. It's not all that great really. Kind of around the sort of Surge Super Diamond area, and that is the same for the car that we'll see next, which is also the regular Cognoscenti. So in this update we've got quite a few cars that are very similar. As you can see here, 14th place we've got the Cognoscenti. It's interesting that we've got sort of basically 3 models of car, but 4 different variations of each of those models. So with the Cognoscenti you've basically got a sort of an armoured version and a non-armoured version, and a long wheelbase version and a short wheelbase version as well, and that's what you'll generally see throughout the course of this video with a lot of different cars. So we move on now to 13th place, and we've got the Baller LE long wheelbase armoured version. So this is a bit of a mouthful. In 13th place, 6th best SUV in the game, so actually quite good with a 1:15.6. That's a reasonable lap time actually. And this is the long wheelbase version of the Baller LE. So we're going to see lots of different variations of the Baller in very close proximity in the next few minutes. Next up, obviously, we're going to be having the Baller LE long wheelbase version, non-armoured version. So again, 5th place in SUVs, 12th place overall. What we're seeing with this is that we've got an armoured version and a non-armoured version of each of these cars, and with the Baller here we've got the LWB version, which is the long wheelbase version, and then we have the Baller LE standard version, which is a short wheelbase version. But before we move on to that, I just want to point out that at this point we do have the regular Baller. So it's been quite a while since I took the regular Baller around the circuit. It's been over a year now since I did the original testing. So I decided to take it around again to compare like for like, and I actually got a little bit of a better time with the regular Baller. That got a 1 minute 14.87, so very close to what we've just seen. But that's where this would fit. 4th best SUV at this point, and it's basically Baller mayhem at this point. We've just got Baller after Baller after Baller, but we have got a little bit of a change here with the Nightshade in 11th place for this DLC. Only the 19th best muscle car. It's got very good traction, but it just doesn't have that power. A 1 minute 14.8 is about 5 seconds per lap off the pace of the top muscle cars like the Dominator, for example. And yeah, it's got one of the highest tractions that I've seen for a muscle car, but it just lacks that overall acceleration and top speed. So next up, we're back after that short intermission to the Ballers again. This time we've got the Baller LE armoured version. This gets a 1 minute 14.832, so if you've been following what the lap times have been, these have been very close, all together in very close proximity. 10th best for this DLC, and the 3rd best SUV overall. So you've got to take into account that the Huntley S, which is pretty much the king of the SUVs, got a 1 minute 13 point, I think it was 1 minute 13.7 or 13.8. So the Huntley S is still the king in the SUVs class, but it's not quite as much of a king as what it was before, mainly because of the regular Baller LE version. A 1 minute 14.6 is what it gets, so it's within a second of the Huntley S. This is the best Baller that you can get now, 2nd best SUV overall, 9th best in this DLC, and it finally rounds off those 4 different variations of the Baller LE. 5 different variations of the Baller in total, I guess you could say. And they're all very close together. There's very little to choose between them. I have looked at the game code for all of these vehicles, and when you have different variations like this, for example between the Cognoscenti 5.5 armoured version and the Cognoscenti 5.5 regular version, there are very small differences between them, but there are noticeable differences. Say, to example, when it comes to driving force, engine power, something like that. Very small, but they are there. So The Cognoscenti 5.5 armoured version in 8th place is the 11th best sedan in the game, and then just ahead of it, the Cognoscenti 5.5 in 7th place is the 7th best sedan in the game. So in this area where we've got quite a lot of sedans, the two Cognoscenti 5.5s basically separate quite a few sedans, even though they are reasonably close together in terms of the lap time that they get. You know, 113.8, 114.0. They're very, very close together, but ultimately the non-armoured versions of these cars are a little bit quicker than the armoured versions. So in 6th place we have the Mamba. Probably a little bit of a disappointment that we don't have a sports classic that can take it to the Sterling GT, but ever since the Sterling GT came out, really, we've not really had a chance to use any of the other sports classics cars because it's just so dominant compared to everything else. A 112.6 isn't all that great. It's about the pace of a Monroe, so if it wasn't for the Sterling GT, it probably would be able to compete, but ultimately it isn't on the pace of that. Now in 5th place overall for this DLC is the Shafter long wheelbase version, armoured version. So again, we're back to these different variations of cars. This is the first of the Shafters that we've seen. This is now the 3rd best sedan in the entire game, and this gets a lap time of 1 minute 11.1, so a little bit quicker than what we've just seen beforehand from the Mamba, and it's not too bad at all. You know, the Shafter LWB, it's reasonably okay, but the Shafter LWB non-armoured version gets a 1 minute 10.4, which is again nearly a second quicker than the armoured version, but for some reason it's in the sport class, and I'll explain in about a minute's time the mistake that Rockstar have made with this, because it's very, very easy to see. But again, just like I did with the Baller, I decided to take the regular Shafter back around the circuit, and obviously pay attention to the lap times here. 110.473 for the Shafter LWB, 110.436 for the regular Shafter. So they are very, very close together. Basically, if the Shafter LWB was in the sedans class, it would be between it and the regular Shafter for the top spot, and they would be pretty much identical. And when you actually look at the game code as well, the Shafter and the Shafter LWB are very, very close together in terms of performance. Now, on to the top 3, and this is where it gets interesting, because in 3rd place we have the Shafter V12 armoured version. Now this gets a lap time of 1 minute 6.4, so that is 4 seconds per lap quicker than the regular Shafter, and it becomes the best sedan in the entire game. Now you can see what basically Rockstar have made a mistake here. What they've done is they've put instead of putting the 2 V12 versions in the sports class, which is where they should have been, and the 2 LWB versions of the Shafter in the sedans class, what they've done is put the 2 armoured versions of the Shafter in the sedans class and put the 2 regular versions of the Shafter in the sports class, and that has completely messed it up. It just makes no sense whatsoever. I will talk a lot more about that in these future analysis videos, but that's basically the mistake that they've made. Ultimately, the Shafter V12 armoured version is now the quickest sedan in the game by a long, long way, and it's basically exactly the same as what the Sterling GT did to the Sports Classics class. Now, in 2nd place for this DLC is the Verlier. I know I've got that wrong, but I think it's something like that anyway. A 106.1 is reasonably good. You know, it's okay. It's around Banshee levels of lap time. 11th best in the sports class at this point, so it's not too bad. It's not on the pace of the top sports cars like the Elegy, the Massacro, the Jester race car, but it's competitive, and it's been a while since we've had a competitive race car, a competitive sports car, I should say. But ultimately, in 1st place, we have the Shafter V12. This car is absolutely unbelievable and a complete surprise to me, to be honest. This is the 9th best sports car in the entire game. It gets a lap time of 1 minute 5.499, which is quicker around the circuit than the Adder in the supercars class. And it's basically where it should be. The Shafter V12, it's one hell of a car. It's basically exactly the same as a regular Shafter, but with a lot more engine power, and it's in the sports class, which is exactly where it should be. So at this point you can kind of see how the V12 versions of the Shafter, both of them should be in the sports class, and the LWV versions of the Shafter should be in the sedans class. That's basically the only mistake that they've made there with these categorizations of cars. But ultimately the V12 version of the Shafter is a very, very quick car, and it is by far and away now the quickest around a circuit, and just in general the quickest 4-door car in the entire game. If you want to transport 3 of your friends anywhere in a car, this is the quickest way to do it. It absolutely demolishes the Sultan and the Kuruma, which were very, very close for the top spot beforehand. So if you want the quickest 4-door car in the game, you have to have a Shafter V12. So that's pretty much it. There's going to be a lot more of this DLC to come in my future videos. Obviously, I'm going to be analysing all of the cars in detail. I'm going to be analysing the actual update itself. I'm going to talk a lot more about these messed up categorizations of the Shafter that they've done. I've obviously got all of the top speed testing to come as well. That video will be in a few days. All of these analysis videos will be in a few days as well. So you're welcome to subscribe if you are new and you want to be notified of all of those. But thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for the support. This has been one hell of a video to make in one day. I can't believe I've managed to get it out as quickly as I have. But I hope you guys have enjoyed. I hope it has been helpful information to you as well. There's plenty more to come in terms of analysis, but let me know all your thoughts about these down below. So thank you so much for all your support. I really, really do appreciate it, and I'll see you next time.